Hey everybody, welcome to Culture of Splife podcast. I am your host, kick this thing off, Josh, and my co-host Rod and Drew will be in a minute. A couple of weeks ago, Rod and Drew were both sick, but both are healthy and back. And we took a week off for spring break, but we are back and ready to get after it. A lot to talk about today. But as always, you can follow us on every social media outlet that's in your mind. TikTok, obviously Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and everywhere it's Culture of Splife.
Yo, yo, yo.
Hey, Rod.
What is going on, Mr. Craig-O?
Welcome back, man. Glad to see you upright.
I am glad to be upright.
Little scare for sure. Put things in perspective really fast, I imagine.
Most definitely put things in perspective. I'm taking a step back and just kind of learning to take things easy. I think I just overran there for a little bit, but what's funny about my daughter is, she went ahead and was the MVP and won the tournament with me just chilling at the house. And she's like, well, maybe you just stay at home all the time now. So.
And what were you saying that her team's rank was?
They're currently number 1 in the state, number 4 in the country. Had they have been able to hold on this past weekend, they lost to a team that's number 5 in the country right now. They had a lead, then they lost it, and then with like a minute left, they were down by 7. 20 seconds later, she had cut the lead to like 2 from 7.
Wow.
But I think that for her teammates, the stage was a little big, and so they kind of turned the ball over and in some spots couldn't get it to her just to bring them on in. But, I mean, be top 4 in the country and be number 1 in Alabama is pretty crazy right now.
And is that an AAU team?
As an AAU team.
I thought so.
So
awesome.
So, needless to say, it's so she's motivated to get to number 1.
I bet. Drew Tolbert, welcome back.
Good to be here. Good to have a voice to speak with.
That is helpful to do a podcast for sure.
Yeah.
I ran out of video to post on all my social media. I like to post something every day, and I always have about 10 videos in pocket to record, but to post here and there if something happens, like you lose your voice. And ran out of video. I just haven't posted. I would say Sunday is probably the first day I felt 100% on the voice.
Wow.
I lost it.
Drop calls or anything now?
No, not dropping calls. I'm all good.
There you go. Well, shout out to Day One for showing up for us to fill in for y'all.
Easy. You the man.
That's it.
That would have been
sure. I don't know
an interesting podcast. You just sitting there talking, me in the chat. Like, what would that have sounded like?
That's for sure. So glad y'all are back. We've got a lot to unpack today. Of course, we have the Final Four in men's basketball and Final Four in women's basketball. And some would probably say that the women's Final Four was a little bit more entertaining. One, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark kind of kept it very entertaining for us Sunday night. So
yeah, no question about that. Yeah, I mean, what was crazy was this. It got crazy, obviously, going back to the Iowa-Louisville Elite Eight game, because when that happened this past Sunday, the Sunday before last, that was actually the highest rated basketball game on ESPN all year. That actually eclipsed any of the NBA games on ESPN. So, and that was the Elite Eight game. So you already had a lot of buzz about Caitlin Clark at that point. We had all this, and then she's going against the best team, historically one of the best teams like in history, right, with South Carolina. So there was already some build up there. She dropped a 40-piece on them back-to-back for the first time. And so that just raises the legend, and then you literally had made for TV with the championship and everything that happened there. Like, that's the craziest thing about it, is it just kept building and building and building. So there's no question, women's basketball and the women's Final Four was like the talk of sports, period.
Right. For sure. And then, of course, we'll get into the men's. But before we get too far along here, I think we need to have our Uncle Joe's trivia segment. What do y'all think?
Gotta tell him, man.
Uncle Joe.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Happy birthday to Uncle Joe.
Oh, yes,
81
no doubt
years
about
young. Still not cheating in trivia, that's for sure. When
Right.
someone asks him a question, he's using that brain. So that's what we're going to do. So I got two pretty good ones today, I think. And then I have a bonus one. So the first one is, we know that Caitlin Clark broke the record for the most points in NCAA tournament with 191 points. Whose record did she beat?
That'll be a good one. I expect a lot of response there.
Absolutely. And then the second one, kind of piggybacking off of that, she not only broke the women's record for the most points in NCAA tournament history, but she also broke the men's record.
That's insane.
What man's record was broken by Caitlin Clark?
That should get some interesting ones too.
Definitely. I actually read something, I think yesterday or today, that Caitlin Clark was so dominant as an 8th grader. She was playing 16 and 17-year-old boys and was completely dominating them, to the point where the opposing coach was saying that girls should not be allowed to play with boys.
I can totally believe it.
You can kind of relate, can't you, a little bit, Rod, with your daughter?
Yeah. I mean, and what's crazy is, unlike Mondays, she plays pickup and skills with high school boys and scrimmages. So
I believe it. I remember there was a girl that I used to play against, a friend of a friend of mine, and she could beat me with a girl's ball, but she couldn't beat me with a men's ball.
Yeah, it's a totally different ball game.
It is totally different. Yeah, it felt like I was using one of those like Papa Shop balls when I was playing.
Right.
No, it's a totally different world.
Half different or something.
It's
An inch and a half.
Almost.
It's an inch, because the boys' ball is 29 and a half and the girls is 28
and a half. Okay.
But it's a spherical inch, you know. And I was explaining to my kids this weekend, you know, like pizza math. Like you got to use the pizza math on that one, right? Because like, even though it's only an inch different, it's spherical. It's like, you know, two 10-inch pizzas is considerably smaller than one 8-10-inch pizza, right? So it's that inch is a huge inch in the spherical world when the hoop is the same size.
Yeah,
right?
I regularly have to use that girls' basketball. It's the Shaq philosophy behind balls. Like, it literally is. It's like when Shaq shooting free throws.
No doubt.
I didn't know there was that much of a difference until I was in high school when I dunked. Like, the first time I ever literally dunked a basketball, like, everybody's like, yeah, it's a girl's ball. And I was like, so?
Still my dream.
Like, it's cool, man. I can dunk now. Like, I'd been working out, you know, I'd done the calf raises on the board, you know, and like did the squats and everything, got there. Yeah, I found out that it was a little bit different than whenever, you know, I had to go, and it's a couple more weeks before I could dunk with that other ball. But yeah.
If you just had your strengths, you would have been able to dunk a men's ball.
Right.
Yes. Had those extra platforms, keep the calves up the whole time.
Right. That's what I needed. I couldn't afford them from the East Bay magazine. I didn't have that money like you did.
Hey, you had to just do it the natural way. You graduated from touching the net to touching the rim to almost getting there with the ball to finally doing it.
I think
maybe playing
I think the most exciting day for me was whenever I touched the rim like here and not here, you know, like that was for me, like between that and backboard, like those were the two most memorable moments for me. Of course, I didn't play basketball. I was just doing it because I was a tall guy, right? I felt obligated.
Sure. A good friend of mine, Tori, sometimes listens to the show. He and I would always talk about how cool it would be when we could finally slap the glass when we laid the ball up. That was the coolest thing.
Yep.
Right.
I was like,
That's
I
what
want
I'm
to be able to
saying.
do that instead of dunk. Like, that's even more cool, you know? And
Yeah, what's really funny is when you go to all these little AAU circuits and everything else, and you see like these sixth and like fifth, sixth, and seventh grade boys, and they're just getting so excited because they can touch the net. Right? And you just think about that, and it's like, wow.
Well, in all fairness,
us
though,
at
for
one
me,
point.
it was like, I don't know about Josh, because me and Josh are like the same height, but like for me, I was like almost done with school by the time I could dunk. Like, I don't know, Josh, you might have been a 10th grader out there jumping, but like it was like last semester of senior year before I could do it.
yeah, I could probably dunk right towards the end of my senior year as well.
No, I mean,
and I didn't dunk in a game until I was 22 or 23
See, I
in
never
like a church
did.
league. Yeah.
I mean, it was high
I
school
never did. Like,
for
it
most
was
of us,
clear the
too.
court. Andrew's going to try to dunk. Like, if there was somebody on me, I wasn't dunking. No, if that wasn't happening.
What were you saying, Rod?
Yeah, it was definitely high school for most of us, and I mean, obviously we were considered athletic, and it was still high school. But now they're like mutants. Now, I mean, in 7th and 8th grade, they're like 6'3", 6'4" now. So it's just like, what?
Exactly. All right, so I'm gonna hit the last question of the night, and that is right before we start talking about San Diego State in the Final Four. Who holds the record for the most assists in San Diego State basketball history?
That should be pretty interesting.
Yes.
I want to give it away so bad because, like, think of all the other records that he holds, right?
Yeah, for sure. No
Hey,
doubt.
just like Uncle Joe always says, don't cheat. We want to see what you get.
That's right. Yes. So if you're listening to the show right now, comment how old you were the first time you dunked, because that might be a little exciting. I already got one text, so
I
put it in the
wonder
comments.
how old I was if I was 17 or 18 because my birthday's in April. I bet I was probably 18.
Yeah.
Like, I bet I was I feel like it was warm weather, but that could be January. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean,
and it's Alabama, so
when we have one of my confirmed guests on the show, he'll be able to confirm what I'm going to say. But I was only 5'2" in 9th grade. I was like a straight point guard with handles for days, teardrops, all that stuff. And then basically between the time I was 15 and 16, I grew almost a foot to 6'2". So, but then that was it. I was done. So, yeah. So my game completely changed because I went from being the shortest guy on the court to generally the tallest or close to the tallest in a street ball, just kind of pickup game environment. So
I was the same way. Like, that's so crazy because I was literally one of the shortest guys in my class, like, hands down. I remember standing in the lunch line in 10th grade and somebody turning around and saying, like, when did you get that tall? And I was a head above them at that point. And I'm like, I don't know. I just know I can only wear shorts. Pants are not an option anymore.
That's crazy.
They don't ever fit.
Yeah. So I started 8th grade at 5'3", and I ended 8th grade at like 5'9.5".
wow.
You go. There you go.
I grew like 3 more inches around 11th, 12th grade-ish.
Right. And it's crazy because you see your kids every day, so you don't notice any change in them.
Yeah,
Until
exactly.
you look at a picture. I saw a picture of my daughter 4 years ago, and it's a completely different person.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
But I would tell you she hasn't changed because I see her every day.
You're very right about that. But then when you see everybody else, like, my God, you're grown.
Yep. So there is Uncle Joe's trivia. We'll give you the answers here at the end of the podcast. So let's move on to this this Final Four action.
All right.
Let's start with the men's. Florida Atlantic doing a little New York Knicks choke job against the Pacers. What do you think?
Oh, man. They so dominated that game. And, yeah, I know we were talking pregame about it. And when I was watching the game, they're up like 14. And it's one of those type of things where we all know San Diego State, I mean, even putting it mildly would be to call them offensively challenged. I mean, so if you are up by 14 on an offensively challenged team, that's like having a 25-point lead.
Right.
And they still were able to chip away. And then we saw what happened at the end. Like you should tell all our listeners what your thought process would have been for Florida Atlantic when they were going in and rushing the shot with the lead.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to need to watch it back to see exactly how much time was left. But I was actually watching the game with good buddy Brandon Van Orden, who posted there, and it was
like
crazy.
11 seconds when they got the ball, something like that.
How many? 6 seconds?
No, wait a minute.
I think
it was about
I think it was 6 seconds. I think
it
it
was
could
a
have been
7-second
3
difference, and
yeah.
it was a 6-second difference with the shot clock. But he put the ball up, and San Diego State and Butler actually got the rebound with like 6.5 seconds left.
Right, exactly. So what I'm doing is, I call it Hito Turkalooing for the Magic. Mm-hmm. He would literally just dribble if we were down 2, and then just launch a 3 at the buzzer. If it goes in, we win. If it doesn't, we don't. But at least this, if you take a long shot, it's going to carry him probably back rim, and it's going to go up in the air quite a bit. You possibly get an offensive rebound. If you don't, they still have to go the length of the court in probably 4 seconds. A lot
more. And they're scrambling a ton more in that scenario.
Exactly. They have no time to set up, which, interestingly enough, they had all day to set up, and there was no set at all. It was complete isolation, and I thought the kid was going to dribble the ball off his foot, and then all of a sudden he turns around and drills a shot at the buzzer.
Like, I was thinking he wasn't even going to get the shot off in time with the way they were struggling. And then, like, literally, that was like the first official, like, buzzer beater in the tournament. And it's the first game in the Final Four, which is just crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's just crazy. But, what's even crazier is the fact that, like 3 weeks ago, we were talking about on this show that all of the excitement within like the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament, which was kind of crazy that the very first upset, we were at Buffalo Wild Wings together watching it with Virginia and Furman.
Yes.
Yeah, that was just crazy. Like what happened there. But you get all the excitement. You get the all of your Cinderella stories, which last year was St. Peter's, this year was Princeton and FAU and all these teams. But no, and everybody's bracket is usually destroyed at least 1.5 days in. You can just go ahead and put it in the trash for the rest of the tournament. But it still never fails.
That's right.
A blue blood will always win the championship.
That's right.
Speaking of,
go ahead, Drew.
Oh no, I was gonna say, you were talking about a few weeks ago. My favorite, I encourage any listener listening to this in any form of syndication to go back 3 and 4 weeks ago when we started this whole nonsense, and listen to Rod. You can faintly hear him eating his words about San Diego State being overrated in the tournament, because he said that. and then San Diego State ends up being the team to knock out who? Who did they knock out?
Yeah, they knocked out Bama. Well, I do get some redemptive qualities because I did say that FDU, I said they're probably not going to win, but this is another scenario where it's a golden opportunity.
Look, I don't care who San Diego State beat, who they didn't beat. The fact that they beat Alabama and you're the one that said they were overrated makes it hilarious, even though you never said Alabama was going to win it. That was never
no. In fact, if you go
made.
back, I actually said Alabama's shelf life was either the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight.
Yeah, no. Me and you called when they were getting eliminated. Mm-hmm. And if you look at my bracket, I even had them eliminated in the right spot. Wrong team.
Yep.
Right spot. Right spot.
All right, so Drew's your bad cop, Rod. Now I'm going to be your good cop. Who was it that you picked to win the national championship before the conference tournament started?
I said UConn. I on one of these shows, I just said they were the most complete team and they had all the pieces. You remember I was talking about the fact that they were dismantling everybody, Alabama included, by like 15 in the middle of the season. Now they hit that rough patch and some people kind of lost a little bit of faith or they weren't paying attention to them. But I mean, they were the most complete team. I just said that I thought that in like January that this is probably the team that's going to win it.
You know what's upsetting the most to me about that? And again, listeners, go back and listen to that episode when we first started talking about this. That's who I was going to pick. And I was like, well, I'm going to pick somebody different since you picked them. I'm not going to say the same team. And Josh was looking at us like we had four heads, man. It was like, UConn, really?
Yeah.
Is Emeka Okafor back or something?
But the funny thing is, I went all in. I went all in on my pick. My pick was Purdue, right? And I was like, no, I'm going all in. Rod, you got UConn. I'm going all in. My daughter, 5 years old, had UConn winning the tournament in her bracket. 5 years old, and she got it right.
Yep.
Now, given she was way off on the score ended up not being 28-24 like she predicted it to be, but she still got the winner right.
Come on.
All of us to the Final Four, we were done. Everybody in my house was done except for her and the one team she had going through. Like, I had UConn going to the Final Four, but, I of course had them eliminated because I wanted, something else to happen magically. Should have went with my gut initial thing. I would be sitting here like, look at my bracket and how awesome it is, but I didn't. And now she gets to relish, my 5-year-old daughter.
Maybe
she's
her
ready
prediction.
To do another bracket.
Maybe her prediction was just advanced, and she was just thinking number of field goals in the game.
Now she was going with that rake ball score.
That's right.
Yeah. Right. I'm thinking that she got that score. That seems awfully like a football score to me. So I'm thinking that she saw that on Madden, from like my son playing and was like, that's a game score right there. 28-20. Because, that's like a random number for a 5-year-old to just say.
Right.
Like there had to be some logic behind it.
Yeah.
Now, if she picked San Diego State to be in the finals and she picked the score to be 28-24, that might be plausible. if UConn wasn't the opponent, 28-24 for a San Diego State game is possible. It's just kind of funny. Like my mom and everybody else always just talked about, like, you got to be ready for a football game when you're playing San Diego State. So,
right.
Wasn't Connecticut up 36-20 or 22 at the half?
36-24 at the half?
Yeah.
24, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but the 24 was there in the halftime score. It was, but I couldn't remember the big number.
That's right.
But, what's crazy is this is like the fourth most dominant run in tournament history. Like they literally won every game by double digits.
Right.
Yeah. Once they abused Gonzaga, I was like, whoa, this team is legit.
And they 30-pieced them.
They did. Yep. Just drove Drew Timme crazy. And speaking of which, he should have gotten his fourth foul in the first half. And somehow they gave it to somebody else who didn't even touch.
He got his like fourth year before like the pandemic. This guy's old.
Yes,
that's what they were doing. They were just giving it to somebody else just because they felt sorry for it. Age.
I mean, like he looks like he should be starring in like Old School too. Just the athletic version of it.
Right.
So who's older, him or Stetson Bennett?
That's almost for Uncle Joe at this point. I mean.
Oh man.
There you go. Let's compose ourselves and let's record
I mean, like, I
that one for
think that like both of those guys are like on their second marriage now or something. I mean, it's like how old are you?
Yep. So great tournament game yesterday. Great championship. Great tournament overall. As y'all know, I don't do a bracket. In fact, Kevin messaged me and asked me to be in a bracket before the tournament started, and I said you couldn't pay me to be in a bracket.
Yep, you did say. You said you want to actually enjoy the tournament.
But interestingly enough, the reason I didn't want to have a bracket was because I would feel compelled to watch all the games, and I probably watched 80% of the games anyway. So
I mean, we were texting about them.
Yep.
It's so funny to me. Like, I can't watch them. Like, I really can't. Like, there was one year I was working in the youth group at a church, and like I had a bunch of the guys over, like the youth group, and I remember one day sitting there, like, I made a deal with God. I was like, God, I will never watch this tournament like this if you will let these kids leave my house. Like, just make them get out. Just get out of my house. Because we were pre-Sweet 16, so we were like, all day long there was somebody at my house, and I'm like, oh, this has got to end. I can't do this. I felt like the last game ends at like midnight, and I'm just like, no, I'm done. So I'm pretty good at making the bracket and being able to just catch the updates later. So I really didn't watch a ton of the tournament, but and again, it's a deal with God, right? That's what you got to do, Josh. You just
That's right.
Just got to be held hostage.
But hey, Drew, it's all good because the women's tournament stole the show big time this year.
That is true. It was must-see TV.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
So,
yeah.
So
Caitlin Clark.
I want to hear you guys' opinion on this here, and I know we talked a little bit about it pre-game, but everybody wants to talk about the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark and the reactions and everything else. But I think one of the biggest things we can focus on even before even talking about any of that was just the fact that this feels like the first time there's a compelling and a legitimate and a national level interest in women's basketball. Like right now, the popularity is through the stratosphere for what went down this tournament. And so I kind of want to get you guys, your takes on that.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark, wow. She'll pull up from 30. She is they're calling her the female Steph Curry. And that's not to be taken lightly. I've never heard a female basketball player be compared to Steph Curry. And
completely. Well, you haven't had one before.
That's right.
And what was interesting is Gino Auriemma, coach for UConn, actually said that he actually compared her to a female version of Pistol Pete Maravich, which I thought was a pretty legit one just because of just the different arrays of ways that Pistol Pete would just put the ball in the basket, and she's just like that. She can fill it up, and what's crazy about her too is it's not even just that. Her court vision and ability to facilitate an offense and get the ball to other people is it's next level right now.
I'm going to hit y'all with something. I'm sure Rod will be with me here, maybe Drew, but I'm not saying that Caitlin Clark was like an Austin Crozier of the Indiana Pacers. She averaged 28 points, 8 rebounds, and almost 9 assists for the season. This isn't like she just showed up for the games in the tournament. She balled out all year. For Iowa,
completely.
Look at the stat sheet. You have Caitlin Clark, 30, 40 points a game. Then you have some lady,
Monica Cesano, or whatever her name was. Yeah.
And then nobody
number
else in the
25.
double figures.
Nope. Completely.
So to have that little amount of talent on a team and not be able to lock her down. I mean, Tracy McGrady was a stud, but there towards the end of his time with the Magic, they would just triple team him. We didn't have anybody else. Grant Hill was still in crutches. There was nothing that anybody could do. But for her to be able to dominate the game when everybody knows the ball's going to her 100% of the time, amazing.
But it goes back to her being able to stuff the stat sheet like that. Like I saw a stat during the Final Four. She had 17 double-doubles this year.
Yeah.
I mean, triple-doubles this year. 17.
17 triple-doubles. Right? Wow.
Yeah. Next, like number 2 is 4.
Right.
I mean, so it's one of those type of things where you are, first off, you know what's coming and you just can't stop it. But also, if you just focus on, I'm going to keep you from scoring, she's good enough to just get everybody else layups.
That's right.
You know, I mean, that's just that's that next level.
That's right.
And then you see her like get rebounds and outlet passes immediately off of those rebounds. So that's the reason you can't really stop her, because she can hurt you in other ways.
Exactly.
You know, and so the women's game has never really seen anybody that could do that. And so that was just like, you know, and I know, like you said here, everybody wanted to talk about the, you know, Angel Reese with this and you know, this, or even her shooing. You know, I know you guys, you know, can definitely chime in on that. But like, think about it this way: what made the NBA, or at least started it at the level that we got to today? It was Lakers, Celtics, Bird, Magic, like intense rivalries and a compelling reason to like hate another team, like started the trajectory of what we embrace with the NBA today.
Right.
And I think that this is like, the women's game could not have asked for anything better. Like, you've got this otherworldly player right now playing out of her mind. And then you've got some other really good players as well. They're stepping up to the challenge and stepping up to the plate to create this rivalry going. And the beauty of it here is, like, Caitlin Clark's back in college basketball next year. Angel Reese is back in college basketball next year. Like, this is made for TV. It was made for TV this year. Now you literally have it to where people are anticipating and counting up, like the buildup of this season starting. Or could you imagine if that's a rematch of this next year? Like, it goes through the stratosphere. And I just think that's been the number one thing women's basketball has missed. There's been no intense rivalries. There's been no players outside of, you know, like your Cheryl Swoops and all those people like back in the day that people looked at in the same realm as a Michael Jordan or a Magic Johnson, or today, like you even said, a Steph Curry. Right. So this is healthy for the women's game to have these type of larger than life personalities, to have intense rivalries or something like that.
Exactly. And there are multiple players across college basketball that are really good players. The girl from Louisville,
Haley Van Lith.
Yes. I mean, she is really good. I remember when NBC signed the contract with WNBA, and I was like, oh man, I can watch basketball year round, basically, right? I can watch it all through the summer. And then I watched the game, and it was like, you know, you had Ruthie Bolton Holyfield and Cheryl Swoops and Lisa
Cynthia
Leslie,
Cooper and Lisa Leslie.
and that's about all I could. The lady that had all the lipstick on for the Comets. I can't remember her name. Yep, that's right. Exactly. And that was it. And now the talent level is just so much better.
Yeah.
So,
and you add personalities in there, and it just makes a whole difference.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, the personality is the necessary piece, right? We got to make some kind of an emotional connection, you know, because I think that, like, you know, every single city in the United States that's probably over a 40,000 to 50,000 population, right, has that double A team or that single A baseball team or that triple A baseball team or that arena football league team or whatever craptastic sport we come up with to try to put butts in the seats. And you go, right? You win tickets, you get something to get you there, and you're like, well, I'm going to root for the home team. And then they lose, and you go, well, it's not that big of a deal, right? But those teams that you've made that emotional connection with are the teams that you are going to go, and you're going to be devastated. You're going to cry, right, whenever they lose. That's what you need. You've got to have that, because I love the dynamic of LSU and Iowa, right? The back and forth, the technical fouls, and all the crap. Because whereas I don't agree that there was a technical foul in the game, I don't disagree with the you can't see me. I'm for all of that. You need it. You have to have it to build that emotional connection, because if you don't, no butts are going to get in the seat.
No, it's just a game. It's just a player, and you don't even remember it next week.
I love it because it has been trending on Twitter. Women's basketball has been trending on Twitter ever since the weekend started. Do you realize how impressive that is? You had baseball, you had men's basketball, you had WrestleMania, and women. Oh, not to mention, I don't know if you guys have heard, but I hear Donald Trump's in some trouble too. All of that stuff on Twitter. But women's basketball is still there. That's the first time in the history of the world that it's ever been on there for that long. But you have to have that emotional connection.
Correct. And the top two right now, Instagram follower lifts or boosts in the last 4 days are number 1, Angel Reese, and number 2, Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese went from maybe 500 Instagram followers. She has 1.08 now. Caitlin Clark, more than doubled her Instagram followers out of this. So you're exactly right. You got to have that emotional tie. Just even think about it this way. Like I said, how many people are 76ers fans because of Dr. J? Or they're Celtics fans because of Larry Bird? Or were Lakers fans because of Magic Johnson and Showtime? They're Bulls fans because of Michael Jordan. You're Pistons fans because of the Bad Boys, right? Or, and how many people even just tuned into the NBA just to see what Dennis Rodman was going to do in the mid and late 90s, right? So
he was going to marry.
Yeah.
Oh, himself. He's going to marry himself.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Then is the bride.
But it was
you're exactly
amazing.
right.
Even my dad, who he wasn't even on the internet his whole life. I remember him in the 90s, the whole I was obsessed with the Bulls. I loved the Bulls.
Me too.
That was it. Once Jordan, Rodman, Pippen, all those guys were gone, I couldn't even tell you anything about the Bulls. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you anything about basketball.
Completely.
It was done, but Rodman was there. Man, I'd have that on. My dad would hate every minute of the TV being on Dennis Rodman, and it was fantastic because you have to have that dynamic. It doesn't matter what side you take. If you take a side, you're connected and you're invested at that point, and you're going to tune in.
You're exactly right. What you said, the personalities creates the emotional tie that creates the followings.
I don't know if y'all can see, but Day One is on with us, as well as Larry. And
yo.
Larry wants to, I think he wants to get our take. And so I'll kick it off first, Larry. My take, I was a wannabe basketball player. I never played at any level other than your YMCA and then, of course, street ball. But when did I grow up? When was I playing the majority of my basketball? When this movie called White Men Can't Jump came out. Mm-hmm. So everybody talked trash. And the bottom line is this. If someone ever talked trash to you, it was no holds barred.
Correct.
If you said I was trash and then you came down and I threw your shot into the bleachers, not only was I in your face, but my whole team was in your face. So it would never stop. So for these critics that say, oh, well, all Caitlyn did was this John Cena thing, and Angel Reese followed her for 15 seconds and showed her where her ring was going to go and all this. I love what Caitlin Clark did on Outside the Lines today.
Yep.
She said nobody needs to be upset with Angel Reese. And as you said in pregame, Rod, what'd you say? Game respects game.
Game respects game. I mean, you know, and then the other thing is when she sued Raven Johnson for you know, for South Carolina because she was 21% shooting threes, and like in the middle of it, it's just like she's not gonna shoot that. Like, what were we talking about? It's like that's cold-blooded. But it was like that, just like we talked about, that's an intensity and a competitive spirit that draws people in, like you said, Drew. Like, I mean, the criticism of that, and here's my hot take about the critics of that. These are the same people that complain about how boring and uncompelling the WNBA or women's basketball is, right? But now you're talking about it nonstop and you're complaining about what happened. But the very reason you're complaining about it is the very thing that's got you following something that you thought was not followable before that.
Right.
But
So it's like you can't have it both ways.
I remember a few years ago, though, like, you know, we'll keep on the subject of women's sports here. You know, I'm a huge English Premier League fan, right? Love soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a match between, I don't even remember who it was between. That's the awesome part about it. But so there was a striker. Her name's Alicia Lehman, and she was thrown to the ground. I mean, it straight up should have been yellow card, if not red. I can't remember if she was taking a shot. Well, so the girl that threw her to the ground was you know, between her and goal next go around, right? And she just backs up one step, and I mean, like, just nails her right in the face with the ball. I mean, just like knocks her down to the ground. It was the hardest shot that girl probably took the whole game. You know who my favorite women's soccer player was after that?
Yep.
You want to believe I knew who Alicia Lehman was? Absolutely, I knew who she was. Every time I get on YouTube, there's going to be a YouTube short recommended to me of her playing out there and doing something. And again, I'm a Liverpool fan. She's not even a player for the women Liverpool team. Like, you know, so like she's on the Swiss team. There's no real connection. I just had that, and that was the 100% trash talk aspect of it, right? She didn't say a word, but we all knew what she meant, right?
Yeah.
We all felt it.
I mean, nobody is talking about the spirit of the NBA is being diminished when you get somebody that mocks Dame time when they're beating them. Like, what was it with Beverly? Was like Dame time, like, you know, it must be broken, right? You know, I mean, like, nobody does it. Or when Rodgers gets sacked, back in the day, people used to discount double check. Or, you know, you break up a pass from Justin Jefferson and you hit the gritty. I mean,
exactly.
Nobody says anything about that.
That's right. And then on top of that, nobody said anything when Draymond Green refused to go out to guard Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
There was like one thing that was said about it. And I think I told y'all, and it was, it's cool if you're open. That's when you're supposed to take a shot at basketball. But if you're open all the time, you should probably ask yourself why you're open all the time.
Yeah.
But that's all that got.
Yeah.
There wasn't video a million times showing Draymond Green just standing back, or in Caitlin Clark's case, being waving the girl to shoot, since she shoots 21%, which Russell Westbrook would love to shoot 21% from the three-point line, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, they just threw it back on Westbrook.
That's right. Exactly. So, you know, I really, unfortunately, I know that there's a lot of race being played, you know, Stephen A. Smith, Ryan Clark, those guys, but I see it as much more gender than race. But that's a good point. That's just me. No women have ever talked trash before, And so now we're surprised that this is happening. And oh no, Caitlin Clark did it, and Angel Reese one-upped her. But that's what trash talk is.
Good take. That's a good take, Craigo. The gender aspect of it, because we look at that as not being ladylike or whatever it may be, or the spirit of it. It's just, yeah, it's crazy.
These women are far more athletic than any of us. What's that, Drew?
I said I'm a WWE fan. I don't give a crap. I want the trash talk.
Correct.
I need the trash talk.
Yep.
If I don't have the trash talk, I'm not interested.
Yep.
Right.
And like I said, the situational irony is we're still talking about women's college basketball, right? 2-3 days after the championship because of this. So that's the irony here.
That's right.
It's still being talked about. It's going to be a huge buildup before the season, and it's because of this.
Larry said, I want trash talk and steroids.
Yep.
I agree.
There we go.
Make baseball great again. Bring back roids. I need
That's right.
These pitchers only pitching 3 innings and then going to the bench. I want them back on roids. Everybody thinks it's the batters. No, I don't care about the home runs. I want somebody out there throwing 300 pitches a game. That's what I want. I need them roids again.
That's right. And keep in the spirit of the WWE. Before the season, the preseason, these women should cut promos.
I agree.
They should cut promos. Just let Angel Reese go no holds barred in the preseason. Just cut a promo. And then have
UFC does it.
One.
The UFC does it. They did the promo thing for quite some time. Like, there's so many sound bites out there of Chael Sonnen making fun of Anderson Silva, Vanderlei Silva, Lyoto Machida. And if you look at his track record, the only one of those guys he ever beat was Vanderlei Silva. He lost to the other ones. But you watched it because you're like, what's he going to say next? It's hilarious. And
that's correct.
And that's what gets views. It's the world we live in. I mean, it's just like us. We have a meeting. What's our trivia questions going to be? Well, we can't do that one. It's too hard. It won't get views. You know, like we're the exact same way. That's what this world's come to. I don't understand why people are surprised. But again, you know, you have to have talking heads, and we're just as guilty as anybody else making a story out of it so that it does become relevant and it sticks around. Now, what I want to know is Iowa's recruiting class coming up. What's that going to look like? Because someone put them on the map this season. And if she has help, she's winning a championship next year. I'm just saying.
So what you're also telling me, too, is that if it's LSU and Iowa in a rematch, they should have a press conference with Reese and Caitlin Clark on both sides, very similar to like a boxing match. Press before the match.
I
have the
want
press conference.
A WWE contract signing.
The contract signing would be perfect.
That's what I want. Bring them out, put one of them on one side of the table, one of them on the other side of the table, and magically they're all sitting in folding chairs that can be used as weapons.
That's right.
That's what I want to see.
And then you've got 10 minutes before they sign the contract of each of them cutting promos against each other.
Exactly. And I need Michael Cole with a hype reel. That's what I need.
Money in the bank. Reese with the briefcase, right?
That'll be even better. We have Louisville come in, cash it in, take out the losing team at halftime. Whoever wins the game. That's what we're going to do there.
Have Van List music just drop.
But we're joking about it. You know that if those ladies are watching us, they're like, yeah, they got the reference. They got it.
That's right. You know, John Cena actually hit her back on Twitter the day after she did that, and he gave her a shout out.
Well, you know, he did that this weekend on Saturday night.
Yep.
That has
didn't work very well.
That has been being used for a long time in professional sports.
Yep.
And of course, y'all know I don't follow wrestling. I haven't followed it in probably close to 30 years. and I had to look it up to see where that came from. So
I used it before I knew that it was from professional wrestling, because there was that time frame. Like, I didn't watch I stopped watching professional wrestling when I became an adult, and then started back when I had kids.
Same here.
Right?
Same here. Exactly.
And I still knew it. Like, because one of my friends that was into professional wrestling, I was like, I don't even know what this means. Like, I still do it. Like, I probably picked it up from some celebration.
Yeah, because all the DBs, like back in the early 2000s, would do this after they get an interception.
Right. Exactly right. Yep. Y'all get a kick out of this. When I was in Boston, we were at a really nice burger place. We like to go to divers, drive-ins, dives, and
diners, drive-ins, and dives. Yeah.
Drive-ins and dives. Yeah.
So we always look to see where he's been, and he went to this place called Boston Burger, and it was really good. But that's not the reason I'm telling you. They had wrestling on every TV, Monday Night Raw, and the manager, I found out he was actually a professional wrestler. I said, what? Were you in the WWE? You can come on our podcast. And he said, no, he's fought in front of up to 5,000 people, but he was always in like local type stuff. He never made it to.
There is a 20% chance that me or Rod knows who he is.
Okay. Okay. I want to say that his name is the Phoenix.
Ooh, that one's too generic.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to check with Katie, but I'm pretty sure he said his name was the Phoenix.
I'm going to say yes on that one, but like I said, that's really generic.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's the Phoenix that I think that I think it is.
That'd be crazy if y'all knew like the bootleg versions of WWE.
Something like Ray Phoenix?
No, he just said the Phoenix. Like that was his nickname.
There was a guy out of Mexico that was called the Phoenix back in the late 90s. That like that's the one that comes to my mind.
This guy is straight up hardcore Bostonian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's the one that
Yeah, no.
Rod, because I think Rod, me and you might be thinking of the same one.
Yep.
Like that Rey Mysterio kind of feel to him.
His name is Ray Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say here, we're trying not to talk race, but let's say he looked a lot more like me than he did Rod. How's that?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
The politest way to put it, I guess.
But it was so funny because all my kids were watching, and I mean, crazy stuff was happening. We were all going, "Ooh, oh, get him!" It was a lot of fun to watch.
It's tough to not get into it when you're there, like involved with a group of people.
That's exactly right.
I'm glad to not be watching wrestling tonight because I have no joke watched wrestling this weekend for like 18 hours.
Yeah, WrestleMania.
Wow.
Although it will be interesting to see now that the UFC and WWE have merged, what comes of that.
They're going to merge with the WNBA and we're going to get our wish. That's what's going to happen.
That would be perfect.
So did Logan
some of that
Paul
NIL
compete?
money?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I know.
Did Logan Paul almost win, or did he get beat down?
He got beat.
Did he?
Yeah,
I know he lost, but was it embarrassing?
No.
No.
I mean, he actually had a good showing, but he lost.
Yeah, he's quite an athlete. He really is.
Yes.
He's quite the athlete. But, like, I mean, it was only memorable for the sake of, wrestling things being memorable, right? Like he had his friend out there to help him in a costume. And, like they pulled the old switcheroo, but it didn't work and it backfired and it was all great, But like I said, that's all the wrestling semantics of it. Outside of that, like he performed well.
Yeah, great promotion for him.
he's the ultimate guy to go out there and wrestle, though, because he gets the negative heat. Like, it's tough to it would be tough for me to go out there and say, hey, Josh, I'm going to pay you some money to wrestle. And you'd be like, great, because Josh is a good guy overall, right? Josh is the guy that, goes to church. He's in Sunday school, and then for me to go, oh, and by the way, I want you to go out there and make fun of every city that we go to and have everybody boo you, right?
Yep.
That would be tough for Josh to do. But for a guy like Logan Paul, super easy. All he has to do is show up and everybody hates him. Like, it's magic.
Yeah, and it's obnoxious. And see, that's the whole essence of your successful wrestlers are that, they've always been taught to be an extension of who they naturally are. Right. And so for him, it's just, I don't even think it's really an extension. He has to be, just be himself.
And the ones that are loved and hated are the ones that are the most popular. Nothing really in between. They're just like,
Correct.
So let's roundtable real quick. Josh, if you were a professional wrestler, would you be a good guy or a bad guy?
I'd be a bad guy. Got to be a bad guy. I think bad guys are more popular than good guys these days. I think NWO is to thank for that.
Yeah. Because you even look at like the Stone Cold Steve Austins of the world, and even the DX, it was that whole anti-hero type of sentiment. So like, if you even look at some of your just like insanely popular guys today, they started out as heels or people who just weren't likable, but all the stuff they did, it just made them cool.
Right.
So what about you, Rod? If you were a wrestler, would you be a good guy or a bad guy?
I would probably end up being a face.
I think you would.
Yeah.
For sure. I can't see Rod being a bad guy.
I probably somebody that would be comparable to me would be like Big E.
Yeah. That's what I have pictured a little bit. A little bit goofy, a little bit serious,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have that church preacher feel to him that's just hilarious.
Right.
I know y'all didn't see the Jake Paul fight, but Logan Paul was interviewed after the second or third round, I think, and he actually said an expletive, and the announcers were like really frustrated that he had done that. And I wonder if that was a way to kind of get some attention for what he was going to be doing in a month or two. Kind of thing. Because he was saying things like not very friendly about Tyson Fury's brother and how he was going to get smoked and how he was a blankety blank 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 and all this stuff. So y'all talked about that.
That was an easy way for him to garner heat and promote himself. So yeah,
exactly.
Can I be real for a minute though? I don't know that has anything to do with the WWE aspect of him, but that everything he does isn't a little bit, self-indulgent, a little bit self-promotion. Like for example, if I put you, however this lines up for you guys, if I put you guys on TV and I say, hey, look, guys, I need you to do this on TV. This is going to be live. I need you to say these things, give your opinions on this, blah, 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 blah. You're going to stick to the script, and you're going to say the things that aren't going to make your wives yell at you, right? Like, that's going to be the whole thing is like, I don't want to go to church on Sunday and be embarrassed. I don't want to go to a community event and be embarrassed. I'm going to say the thing. And ultimately, what are you doing? You're saying, I want this to be as forgettable as possible.
Correct.
Because if it's memorable, I'm going to hear about it later.
Yep.
And 100% guys like that have just completely lost that notion. Like it's just like you, Josh, get to know Drew as me, but whenever the camera's on, I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be in that character. And it's just so self-indulgent because at this point in life, I don't even know what's real and what's fake anymore because it's all almost all like professional wrestling. Where,
no, I mean we're in a reality TV world,
right,
and then the other thing is social media completely magnifies that, because everybody that now has a social media platform feels like they have their own built-in reality show. Look at me, what I'm doing today, and look at this. So everything that they do has to be an exaggeration of everything that's really going on in their life. So you're 100% correct.
well, I mean, even like we do it to an extent to ourselves, right? Like, I know that people I know listen to this podcast, but I also know they don't listen to the whole podcast. They only listen to the bits and pieces. They fast forward or just give up 20 minutes into the episode, whatever. If you remember, I have a very embarrassing story out there. I have not mentioned that at all to anybody that knows me. And it's out there. It's on the internet. I hope people find it at one point in time. Like, I really do. But I'm not self-promoting that. That's not the thing I snipped and put on TikTok at all. You know, so even us, and I doubt Josh is being like, hey, Mom, you should listen to what Andrew said. You know, like he's not calling people up and telling them to go listen to the last 20 minutes of episode whatever. I don't even remember what it was.
But I will tell you, Drew.
Larry knows.
Hey, Drew, I have had a couple people ask me if you were going to do the show without your shirt on.
Well, I put that out there on TikTok and everything.
I know.
So
yeah,
that was like one of those things. I'm testing the water, right? I want to see, like, do people that I know actually like pay attention to this stuff, or do they just give a like and move on? Like, oh, there's Josh and Andrew. I like that. Let's move on. Because that's the thing. Like, you know, whereas we all have our own individual friends, you have to think there is thousands, literally thousands of people that know us together.
Correct.
Like, because we worked at a place together that had like the highest turnover ever. It was like McDonald's drive-through turnover.
Oh yeah.
So there's literally,
we're talking about like the 2 for $129 daily.
right. There's literally people out there that like I don't even remember. Like you remember those girls that we convinced that we were brothers?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember their names? You don't have to say the names, but do you remember their names? You do?
Yeah.
Because I don't.
I'll tell you after the show.
Clue. No clue who they were. I think I remember who one of them was. I think. But the other, no clue. Yeah. No clue. And Rod's probably like, wait.
I only remember it happening with one. So if there were two, I only know one for sure.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
You're gonna have to text it to me after the show.
Yep, I will for sure. Speaking of after the show, 8:07. Y'all ready for some Uncle Joe's trivia answers?
Absolutely.
Talk to him, Craig. Go.
All right. So for those of y'all that joined us late, the first question was, who holds the NCAA record? Well, we know now that Caitlin Clark holds the record for the most points by a woman in NCAA tournament history. But whose record did she break?
Mm-hmm.
That would be none other than the Texas Tech phenom, Cheryl Swoops, from 1993.
Which Rod got in 3 seconds.
That's right. Exactly.
You know, I started watching. I mean, I watched a little bit of women's basketball before that, just because I was just a sports junkie, even at age like 5. But like my biggest entrance into women's basketball was Cheryl Swoops, because everybody started comparing her to, she's a female Michael Jordan. So how fitting is it that now we've got something that really the first time that you've got another woman basketball player being compared to one of the greats in men, whether it's Steph Curry or like Gino Auriemma said, Pistol Pete. So that's just fitting that she breaks that record. But I didn't think anybody was going to get Swoop's record, because she was just dropping them like 40 any night, like in that tournament. So this, like, people don't understand how impressive it is what she did there.
Oh, yes, definitely. And then the second one was she not only broke the women's record for the most points in tournament history, but also the men's.
And that's just crazy.
Whose record did she break? And that would be none other than, what did they used to call him? Robo Rice? Glenn?
Something like that, yeah.
Michigan Wolverines in 1989 national championship team.
Glenn Rice. And it was so funny in pregame, I named like two guys on that team thinking that it's probably not either one of them just because they canceled each other out. So that's really like speaks to what Rice did that year too. So
yep. And then the last one was who holds the record for the most assists in San Diego State basketball history.
Oh man.
And that would be none other than, anybody want to guess? Larry? Day one?
What you got?
Tony Gwynn.
That was so crazy.
Yes, Tony Gwynn. It's not another
Tony
guy
Gwynn.
named Tony Gwynn.
That's
The baseball guy, Tony Gwynn.
That's exactly right. So I see Larry saying, nah. Who else could it be? I could really only name one other San Diego State basketball player in the history of San Diego State before this year, and that would be Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard, yeah. And although it's funny that Kawhi Leonard's career ended by getting put out by UConn in the Sweet 16 in 2011.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Crazy.
So I just want to say something. I've been wanting to text you guys this, but we're wrapping up. We're winding down here. We talk a lot about the SEC and the dominance this year of the SEC in basketball. Of course, we know they're always dominant in football. But can we not just credit Conference USA's basketball dominance this year? Like, they literally were the finals in the freaking NIT, and then you had FAU in the Final Four.
Correct.
50%.
Like, no other
team standing
conference did that good.
That's right.
What?
50% of the last six standing.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
And North Texas and UAB actually pushed Florida Atlantic to their limits in games during the season.
Yep. North Texas is a good basketball team. I didn't realize they had beaten UAB both games in the regular season.
Right.
And UAB was up by like 20 in the first half in the conference tournament and only ended up winning by 7 or 8, if I remember correctly.
It was a struggle.
It's so wild that those three teams, like, it's such a downer that the other two ended up in the NIT.
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like they would have done something.
I mean, UAB and North Texas were teams that in the right bracket could have been in the Sweet 16.
Absolutely.
Like they were that good. And of course, North Texas, their coach had like a new job like the next day.
Right.
But
we said it. We actually said it that the NIT winner was probably going to be like somebody super impressive. Because I was wanting Auburn to be in the NIT, and now I'm glad I didn't. Cause they weren't, because they would have been knocked out by somebody from, Conference USA.
I mean, Vanderbilt was knocked out by UAB in Nashville, so there you go.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know where the North Texas coach went, Rod?
No, I'm trying. I think he went to Texas Tech.
Okay. That'd be a nice little upgrade.
Yeah. Yes.
Not bad.
I think he went to Texas Tech.
Yeah, and then, of course, we know that Patino went to St. John's. So
I think he's going to restore them. Like, that's just a great natural fit.
Yeah.
And the Big East basketball is just ridiculous right now.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
He's not going to restore him. You heard it here first. He's not going to restore him.
He's going to restore St. John's like Kyrie Irving restored the Dallas Mavericks, right?
Exactly. No, he's not going to do that bad.
Rod called
Hey,
it.
but remember
Rod
what we
called it.
said.
Yep.
Huh?
You
Yes.
called it. You said that let's not even talk about if Kyrie Irving's going to sign in the offseason. Let's see if he even makes it to the offseason as a Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
I think you may even said, let's see where they are 10 games from now.
Exactly. I said that this was going to be a massive flop for them. Now, I didn't think it was going to be like you can't even make the number 10 spot in the play-in flop, but I figured it was going to be like you're not going very far.
And Kyrie's saying, oh, if you think this is so easy, why don't you come out and play and we'll watch? It's like, man, come on. You make $35 million a year to play basketball and you're going to argue with a fan? Are you kidding me?
You average 30 a game and you've got somebody else on your team that averages 30 a game and you can't even be at least the 10th best in the conference. I mean, come on.
Yep.
But it was to be expected.
That's right. Exactly. All right, y'all ready to sign off?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all coming back to listen to us. Rod, Drew, appreciate y'all being healthy again and back. As
we appreciate it too.
What's that?
We appreciate it too.
And again, thank you, Day One, for stepping in for us. We're going to be here every week, hopefully Tuesdays at 7:00 going forward. And we want this to be an engaging podcast. So we appreciate Larry, Brandon for commenting tonight. We want people to comment. Everybody who's listening, let us know what you're thinking of the show. We can switch on a dime. Larry's done that to us before. We've completely changed the whole show when Larry said something, and that's cool. Like that's what we're here to do. Make sure that everybody who's listening is having a good time, because you all know we are, and that's not going to stop. So over the next few weeks, don't be surprised if we have some celebrity guests coming up. Somebody from college basketball. I was trying to get him for tonight, but that wasn't able to happen. But somebody that maybe is a worldwide talent on the basketball court. So more to come from that. So until then, make sure that you're following us everywhere, telling all your friends, family. You can follow us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, obviously Facebook Reels, Facebook Live, YouTube Shorts, TikTok. What is it? The Clapper? What is it called?
I don't think we're on Clapper.
Not on Clapper, okay.
I don't think we are.
So
maybe we are.
Just about any social media. You can Google us. If you can't find us, we're there on Google. So you can find us anywhere that you could find a podcast. So until next Tuesday at 7:00, y'all be great. And hopefully get some sleep after the March Madness tired you out a bit.